2018 Board of Trustees meeting to order. Rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the July 18th, 2018 board meeting.
I didn't see any corrections, so I will make a motion to pass those minutes.
Thank you, Ed. Is there a second? Or you had something, Joe?
I'll second so we can talk about it now.
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
Well, it's out in here, I'm just going to question it. The motion was made for the railroad.
Yes.
And that was a yearly
License.
yearly lease agreements. I guess my question, should the upfront fees be included in that? That they're looking for?
Well, it was approving the contracts, right?
To authorize you to sign the contracts. It's on page 2. First thing, under unfinished business.
Yeah. It's talking about the lease agreement yearly. I'm just wondering, should the upfront fees been in that also?
Well, the motion to approve the contract, the fees were set forth right in the contract, so I think the application will approve the fees.
That was the question I had on it.
Okay, so you're saying because it says here agreements for a total of $89.25 yearly.
Which is okay.
You're wondering if that should say and initial fees.
I was just wondering if we should have had those other initial fees in there. That was substantial.
Other thoughts? So you would add in and initial fees associated with the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have the contracts when I did the minutes, so I
That's
just
all right.
did the total
Which were
amount.
actually $11,500.
I think you're right.
So what did you say, an initial fees what?
Which totals $11,000.
Basically, they were processing fees.
For their engineers and,
11,500.
I just mean, I
Okay.
think, I know they passed it to go ahead and do it, but I think the actual cost should be shown. So if anybody reads the minutes, they know exactly what it did cost.
So I should change the 89.25 to what you just said, and initial.
No,
the
that needs to
contract.
no, you can keep the $89.25 yearly,
Together with the processing fees,
Plus processing fees is always
Okay.
total and
totaling $11,500.
Okay. Make a motion and I'll fix that.
I'll adjust my motion if we don't have any other changes.
I adjust my second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Those are approved. You good with that, Wendy?
Yes, I got it, thank you.
Approval of the vouchers.
Vouchers, general fund, make a motion to approve in the following manner. $62,929.06 for general fund. Water fund, $32,185.67. Sewer fund, $34,604.85. Capital fund, $29,192.22, and I move on.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye. No,
I'll say all those opposed.
me,
You're opposed?
yes.
Okay.
I'm fine with the first three, I'm just not fine with the capital. Because I disagree with paying the railroad.
would be a yes vote, Wendy.
Okay.
Okay. On to unfinished business, 5th Street Utility Reconstruction Project. Eminent domain, updates on that.
The eminent domain petition has been filed with the Supreme Court. I don't, and it's gone out, I believe, gone out for service on the defendants. My anticipation is that, based upon the court's calendar, the requirements for service of process, that we'll probably have an order authorizing us to file the maps somewhere towards the end of September. I don't anticipate any issues with acquisition of the easements. The only issue is going to be how much we have to pay. And that gets resolved after the map is filed.
So the map is filed once they make
The map is filed once the judge issues an order saying, after the time period for the respondents to reply passes, assuming they don't submit, responsive papers arguing why we shouldn't have the easement, because I think the only issue is the money. The judge will then issue an order and will file the maps and we acquire the easement. So.
I got a question on that, Joe.
Yep.
I may be wrong. I was thinking back when we did the draft pipeline, there was a deal with an easement. And I thought Mark had told us at that time, where everything was moving forward, like you said, that monies could be put in escrow, and we could still proceed with the project when we were doing the pipeline. My question is, can something like that be done here, so we can actually get a shovel in the ground on the 1st of September instead of the 30th?
Well, we can get a shovel on the ground on other aspects of the project, but until we actually have those easements, we don't have a right to enter that property. Okay? We can proceed with the rest of the project, and we can even do our title certification to the financing sources, because one of the provisions in those title opinions is you either have acquired the easement or you've initiated the eminent domain proceeding. So we're okay with that, but we can't access those two properties until the map is filed and the easement's acquired. I do not anticipate any legal issues with that.
Any other questions on eminent domain? Okay. The 6th amended and restated bond resolution and estoppel notice is this Friday.
The estoppel period runs Friday.
And we don't need to do anything.
You previously authorized the award of the bids subject to finalization of the bond resolution. So I think you've already given authorization to issue the notice of awards once the estoppel period runs.
So we're good to go with both of those things. So hopefully Friday
Yeah, we get all the paperwork ready, notice of awards are ready to go.
anything else on that? East State Street Bridge MOU. This is between the village and the county.
Right, the final MOU that was provided to you today in the packet is the one that Mark and the county attorney finally agreed upon. And it incorporated, I think, that it now incorporates the changes that Tom pointed out, which I think were just the designation of the streets. So if it's agreeable, I think the board would need to pass a resolution approving it and authorizing you to sign.
Make the motion to approve this. And request that the mayor sign it.
Thank you, Charlie.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I have the original green copy. Sorry,
Did I sign it before? Does it matter?
I don't know. I have a blue pen.
Okay. New York State Infrastructure Grant. Oops.
We jumped over this, or is that letter of
Nope,
intent we
because
sent?
he said that we accepted the bids, providing
A
that
letter of
we,
intent?
yep, the letter of
Yeah,
intent.
you approved the bids, we sent a letter of intent, the only thing we had to do was wait for the bond resolution to be final, so.
Yep. Sorry, Joe.
No, I just didn't hear. it.
Kind of killed
Right,
two
I'm
birds
sorry.
with one stone there. New York State Infrastructure Grant.
Was that the email from Jeff Smith that just came in, like 3 o'clock, probably?
I don't know.
I printed it off right before I left, this resolution for basically approving us to go after the funding.
Is that the one that's early September or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's a pretty standard thing, I think you do it for all, that every time you go after funding.
and it authorizes Jeff Smith to put the application together.
Let me just give that to you.
That's on 5 streets, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Board of Trustees, Village of Lowville has determined that it is village's best interest to apply for funding for its water distribution project, and whereas affordability for the village's residents and property owners is a significant concern in advancement of the proposed project, and now therefore let it be resolved as follows. The Board of Trustees of the Village of Lowville authorizes Municipal Solutions to prepare applications for funding through the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, New York State Water Grants. The Village Board authorizes Mayor Donna Smith to execute the application for the New York State Water Infrastructure Improvement Act, grant application, and any and all other contracts, documents, and instruments necessary to bring about the project and to fulfill the Village of Lowville's obligations under the grant agreement. I'll say I didn't see the email, so that's why I read it out loud.
Yeah, I'm
Put
fine
the
with it.
sign it.
Based on the attorney's review of it, I'll make the motion that we accept the resolution.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Ed. Is there further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Introduced by. Do you have to do a roll call vote? It says number of yeas and number of nays.
Yeah, you better. Why don't
Dan?
you set it up that way?
Ed?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Joe?
Yes.
Charlie?
Yes.
So we just attach the minutes that we passed it.
Oh, does
Wastewater.
Donna sign here, or you do? I'm just gonna do it here. You made the motion.
Motion seconded, and Tony Beach.
Wastewater treatment plant upgrades, phase 2. Oh, go ahead.
Can I just go back
The
real quick?
infrastructure, yeah, yeah.
Is there anything we can do, Joe, on the sole source items? I know you said that Diane had to prepare some.
She didn't get that done before she left on vacation.
No, I know, but that might be fine, but I think especially for the tank work, I think they'll accept letters of intents like we did with the other contractors, so I don't know, can we make a motion to that effect?
Sure, subject to their determination that they're sole source, yeah.
Right. It'd be nice if we get that process rolling.
Okay, well, if you make a recommendation to the board that those are all sole source items,
Yeah.
and they make that finding based on your recommendation, and it's in the minutes, then I think they can go ahead and approve those contracts.
And this is part of the 5 streets
Yeah.
Yes.
part, is with our water reservoir, right?
These are all the direct procurement items that we had listed in our budget when we were getting the bond resolution and all that passed for the entire budget. There's three. There's one item for DM tank. They do the penetrations in the tank roof because they manufactured the tank originally and designed it. There's one of them for the actual aeration system that was specifically designed and specified for that particular tank. There's upgrades to the SCADA system through Aqualogics, which they maintain the system that you guys use. And then there's one for the railroad work that the railroad has to do. So I'm of the opinion that these are all sole source items. I don't know.
That takes them out of the requirement for competitive bidding
Competitive.
and following the procurement policy, so.
But if we can at least get a letter of intent for the tank work, I think that's going to help us with that other administrative order item that we'll talk about later.
So, and just to fill everybody in, so the tank, we're adding aeration to our holding tank
Yeah.
to help decrease our byproducts.
Yeah.
And we are stating very clearly that the manufacturer of our tank should be the ones to puncture a hole in the tank.
Right.
And the manufacturer of the tank has designed aeration compatible to our tank with our tank specific requirements, which also accommodates specifically our tank.
Right.
The SCADA that we already use, how you like them apples? The SCADA, call me butter because I am on a roll.
Yes, maybe.
The SCADA that we use, we already have a company. We don't wish to, even if it was a lower bid, we don't wish to bring some other piece of technology in and try and get it to work with our system. We would like to continue to update our system. And the last one, the railroad has to do the work on the railroad
Right.
because it's their property. Are there any questions about us feeling that this is a sole source?
Pure logic.
Right.
Makes sense, yeah.
We want the parts that fit our parts.
Yep. Parts is parts.
So I would make a motion to determine these 4 parts of our project as a sole source, we
Second,
call them items, what do we call them?
second, whatever you call
Sole source contract
Right.
needs,
So sole source contracts.
right?
it. Second.
And do we want to say that we could send them a letter of intent, or are we good with just determining that? Do I need to add anything to the motion?
You can probably, you want a letter of intent, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would add that.
Should I say, and I would
Say it and
I
I'll
would like to
second.
sign a letter of intent for these 4 entities.
I second that here.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anything else that we forgot?
I don't think so.
Okay. You got that one? Okay.
You're doing the letter of intent?
Yeah, we can use the same one that we did for the others on 5 streets. We'll send them to Joe for your
Yeah.
review.
Can you send them on to me and I'll sign them? Mail them out.
Yep.
No need to recreate the wheel. Guard dogs, like that, okay? Okay. Wastewater treatment plant upgrades, phase 2. Any updates on that? We're still waiting.
Maybe I'll just, if I could just have a minute to
Absolutely.
update you, because it's probably sounded like a broken record the last 4 months. But I dove into it quite a bit to get more detail on where we are with the DEC. That's what I've generally been reporting, that we've been waiting for them for total nitrogen ammonia effluent limits. It does go back to April. We initially had a meeting with them
And in that meeting, they indicated that they were looking at our effluent requirements and they'd get us some parameters. However, a year and a half prior to that, they had given us some parameters that were to our liking. And we were on that path to design. And this meeting came up and we talked about switching the plant over to utilizing more of the beds and so forth. So we said, you know, we need this in writing from the DEC. So that's the April meeting, and since then, here it is August, but they came back actually midstream in June. DEC came back with a number that in our opinion was way too conservative. Now, for example, initially 2 years ago, they said the effluent limits were 40 for ammonia. Then in June, they came back and said it's 6. So what that generally means is you've got to treat more. You've got to produce a more superior effluent. Rather than just go that route and nod our heads, we said, no, there's something wrong with the model. You guys need to go back. We'll help you. We'll give you what you need. But for us to just turn our back, what I think is on you, and go with that number, that would require us to design more. That would require you to build more. Nor do we think it's right. So we've been drilling down since April, May, June, July, August. We don't have an answer yet, and it still may come back at 6, but we feel this is our due diligence that we owe you to get you the most efficient design possible without being too conservative and over-design.
And this is because we were asking them if, when we design our phase 2, we'd like to design it correctly for the future.
Absolutely.
Or to be able to allow room if we needed to do certain things.
Yes, and stay ahead of the curve.
As a phase, a very, we'll call it phase 2A, okay?
Right.
In the future, 5, 7 years down the road, what are you going to be expecting?
Exactly.
So so they're essentially telling you that all of the sewer treatment plants in New York State are going to be required to have an ammonia level not of 40 but of 6.
No, that was specific to us.
Oh.
They took a look at our parameters and looked at our outfall and said based on the dilution of the mixing, that's how they ended up with 6.
But we were asking them, what will your state standards be at that time?
Yeah, what will you want us, what shall we design for based on the outfall that exists today? I mean, the other thing we could do is go in and enhance that outfall, put some diffusers in, put it deeper into Black River. Again, we're trying to avoid something that we think is unnecessary. We like to think they're going to come around and come back with a more reasonable number that doesn't require us to over-design treatment facilities.
Pat, wasn't it also a result of the receiving water? Because the Black River is such a large entity that the parameters may not be as stringent because the Black River is so large. And what we're sending in, some of the water that we're sending into it is cleaner than the water that's already in the Black River. So that's what the point we were trying to get across, and they agreed. And they said, send us the data, we'll take a look at it. And that's what we did.
So now we're trying to get something in writing so we can all move forward with our design. In the midst, one of the people moved on, so now we're dealing with someone else. It's been a little frustrating, but I guess I just wanted to emphasize that this is a priority for us. And we're trying to be efficient designers and not too conservative, which is where I think they are right now.
If we had gone ahead with the plan as designed, we would be fine. But then we decided we might not have to do that complicated of a plan, so we took a step back. But then this new requirement from DEC came down, and so the old plant can't treat the way the very expensive plant was going to. So we were trying to save money by keeping the plant we have, few upgrades, but then this new regulation from DEC came down and causes you to have to design something that our current plant cannot do efficiently.
So it is an actual new regulation that is currently existing, or I thought this was designing for a possible future regulation?
it's imminent. So we bond for a plant for 30 years, and then in 6 or 5, this new regulation comes, and now we have to do another project. Okay?
Right, but the regulation isn't here at this moment.
No, we have a letter that says we're going to have to treat for it in the future.
Right. Right.
Does everybody get one of those? Fair question. Does everybody have to follow the same guidelines? Every Adams, whoever else treats?
Yes,
Everybody does. So everybody's gonna have to make upgrades in their system.
Correct.
correct. And the state will make money available, usually.
Because everybody has to do it. You have so many years typically to upgrade.
But we don't want to spend money now to find out later
Right.
we're going to have to spend more money. And what we just spent it on is
Obsolete.
correct.
Or to be able to save a little space for that future necessary part that we need to add.
So maybe a friendly phone call from the mayor? I don't know, what do you think?
You don't want to know? Perhaps.
Because it's just math.
It's just math.
Right? I can call my buddy Tom, talk to him, we'll see what he says.
I know who we should call.
Tom calls, it's usually good to me. Oh, I call him too. All right,
You're reaching out to DEC?
yep. There are a couple of things to be mentioned today as well, because I think our time is running very slowly on all of this. Okay, anything else on that? Thank you. Craft MOU, I have not met with Brian on that yet. Trying to see the time, it just hasn't been working with us on our schedule.
She's still the patron manager.
I don't know, but he's still there, so
I just wanted to be processed.
I haven't heard. I did ask last time, but there was no decision made yet. That was probably a week and a half ago since I asked him. Anything else on wastewater treatment plant upgrades? Village water filtration system. We have a Paul lease that needs to be extended. Do you know how long we wish to extend that lease for? We aren't able to purchase it yet because we don't have approval from Department of Health to officially add that to our water filtration system. So instead of paying for it and getting a great, what do you call it, bonus on the cost, that we've already essentially paid them, to bring that cost down to purchase it, we have to wait until we have official approval.
We used it for a year. What would be the issues with DLH?
They wanted us to do not only that, they want us to add the pack, right? As part of the system.
I don't think they have an issue with us using it.
I don't think, the DOH doesn't have an issue with us purchasing it. I mean, it's village funds, and I think what he said was, they're not convinced that it is the long-term solution. And what we explained to them was, the idea behind purchasing it was to extend and to minimize the amount that we're spending on a monthly basis, so that we can, you know, we're paying $35,000 a month for the generator and the haul trailer for lease only. The idea was to take a bond extend that out, and if we have it for another year or 2 years or however long we have it, we're not leasing it for $30,000 and $5,000 for the generator. We're not just throwing money away. We actually own it with the idea that we could, if we either make it part of the permanent solution once the pilot is complete, or sell it as, declare a surplus and sell it at a later date. The idea is to just not bankrupt the water fund by leasing this thing indefinitely.
That's why I say, Tom,
So why didn't we do that 3 months ago when we first discussed this? Let's just purchase it and sell it later if we needed to.
that's what
Well,
I
we did go
recommend.
through that during our financial sessions. Remember, during the same time we did the five streets financial budgets and analysis of the water and sewer funds.
Right, but we are all under the, and I may be wrong, but we're all under the impression that it makes sense to purchase the unit.
Yeah, we're
Right,
working on it.
we're all under that impression.
We have to follow the bid process, and that takes time, so.
Had to bid.
And we're gonna have to bond too.
So we gotta do similar to 550 bond resolution.
The thing is here though, the way I'm looking at it, everybody's just looking at the money that the power unit's costing us for the lease and what the generator's costing us for a lease. We need to step back here and look what it cost us a year ago in August to set that up, how much we had to do up at the filtration plant. There was quite a few $1,000s invested to actually get these 2 units online. So I'm saying, we're still, as far as I'm concerned, in an emergency situation. This is helping our situation. We go ahead, we buy the unit. That way, that money can go, that we'd be using on the lease every month, it's basically getting flushed. Could work towards trying to develop the ground source water, the wells and things. And like you say, if the wells come in and that's going to beat out the filtration unit, we sell the filtration unit. But I mean, we've already got thousands invested. And if we go put that thing up for bid, something could be different in the other unit, pumps or something. We could end up spending thousands to change the whole configuration up at the plant again. We're just continuing to throw money, good money after bad, and it's got to stop. We got to come down and do something and be done with it.
Let's get the bid specs and then let's bid this.
So remember at the last meeting that the board authorized our consultants to do a bid package to be able to put it out to bid because of our own procurement policy. If we, I hear what you're saying, Joe, and it kills me too to see that as a taxpayer, but it'd be worse if we just went and bought it and found out that we procured it the wrong way. I mean, Joe, what ramifications would there be?
Well, it's not an emergency because you're using it now, so you can't declare an emergency. I understand.
I'm not declaring, what I'm
Right.
saying is
If we didn't have
we
it,
declared emergency, brought this unit in,
Right.
it seems to be working, so why can't we own it?
You can, but you gotta follow your procurement policy. which
And we're gonna
means-
spend thousands to go that route again. It doesn't make sense.
Well, that is part of your determination as to whether your bidder is the lowest responsible bidder. If it's not compatible with what you've already done, you can reject it. That's part of the bid spec process. So, you're in the process of doing bid specs, which you'll have ready in the near
Tomorrow.
future. We have to go through the bond resolution process, which is gonna take, we can adopt a bond resolution in September, and you still got the same.
Yeah, but after you adopt the bond resolution, you got another 30 days before you can do anything, right?
Yeah, but you gotta have a bond,
You gotta have
a bond resolution before you can buy the thing.
I mean, this could drag on into,
Can we have a special
November,
meeting in
December.
2 weeks?
Obviously, what we've got to do is extend the lease for another couple of months, get it bid out, and award it to the lowest responsible bidder that meets specs, which we are hoping will be the company that we're leasing it from. But I agree with Joe, we're going to spend $70,000 more anyways, we're going to have to. So we're going to have to extend this lease for 2 more months.
If you wanna start the bond resolution process by having a special meeting, we can have it ready for you.
I got a question. You leased this thing for a year already. There wasn't any contractor in place to say you could lease option to buy. So if you go ahead and bid out for another unit, Is this old unit gonna stay if this company is the lowest bidder? Or are they gonna come back?
They would take into account their offset price and hope that they're still offering that to us.
How does that work in a fair bidding process? See, I always was under the interpretation it was set up for a lease option to buy, which would make sense, but, you know, I don't know the laws. But if you're gonna go ahead and now put this out to bid for a piece of equipment that's there, hoping that company wins it, if that company wins it, do they put a new machine in? Because you're bidding a new machine for these other guys, right?
That's all part of what we can draw up in the specs.
Right, that's what the engineers are gonna be putting in the specs. It's gonna be bid based upon the specs they prepare, so.
That helps a new one or the existing one, I guess.
Yeah, that's,
We can demand it for us.
'Cause otherwise.
Or we can look at the one we have, nobody else had them. And if we could buy a used one and if we think that it meets our needs, we can go that route too.
Because I don't think until.
And they can draft the specs in the alternative for a new unit or a compatible used unit, right? Yeah.
The motion was for used last meeting. Used microfiltration system and the generator as a package.
Okay.
That doesn't mean though, that still doesn't mean that they can't bid a new one, because we have the right to reject any or all
Well,
bids in whole or part.
If you want them to, they can draft alternative bids. So it's up to the board.
I think that it should be drawn up that way. That way we have a choice of what we want to do. Maybe if the new one is something that we can't refuse, we do that, go that route. If not, we go the other route. But I would like to see the option both ways. And that wouldn't eliminate somebody else that has a used unit.
Well, part of the spec's gonna be written to limit downtime as well, so
That's fine.
we need to avoid.
I trust that you know how to draw the specs up to meet our needs.
Mhm.
Is that something that we could have prepared to be able to have a special meeting for in 2 weeks, or?
I think the process you need to get started, and Joe can kind of attest to this with the bond resolution and EAF, right? Those are the two longest lead items.
Well, we're gonna have to complete seeker in connection with the bond resolution, so, we'll have to do an EAF. I have to check, I think this might be an unlisted action, so, which would reduce the time on that, but you still got the 50 days on the bond resolution. Because it's subject to a permissive referendum, then you got the estoppel period, just like we're going through.
So that's that's right, that's all gonna take time,
3 more
Joe and
months.
board, it's gonna take 50 days for all of that, if we start today.
Right.
But we are starting a pilot at the end of August for 90 days. So this pilot for the pre-treatment is gonna be 90 days long, right? So, end of August, September, October, November. That's when our pilot is done. We submit the results to the DOH. They review and approve. So you're gonna have it until the end of the year, at least. And likely the following spring. Or longer.
So are you arguing we shouldn't buy it? That's,
No, I'm not arguing anything. I'm just trying to, everybody's worried about, we're gonna have to lease this thing for another 50 or 60 days. We're gonna have to lease it for another 6 months at a minimum.
that's why.
We're starting a
That's why.
pilot
Okay.
that we've authorized work to start. It won't be done until the end of August. Then it starts, the 90-day pilot that we requested our engineers to do and to get permission from DOH. So DOH is going to be involved in this whole process to see if we can take care of our disinfection byproduct problem. So don't worry about the next 50 or 60 days, because we're going to have it for at least another 4 to 5, 6 months. And I don't think we're going to build anything in the middle of winter. This is already approved. Proposals have been signed and endorsed in contracts for construction. We were going to get to that further down the line, but we might as well talk about it right now.
So how long are they asking for us to extend our lease to them?
they're not asking us, it's basically, it could be indefinite, but we obviously we don't want that, but I think 6 months to a year. You know, they basically told us, we're not going to come and take it away.
So do we want to approve an extension of lease for 6 months?
I would, as long as we can get the ball rolling on the other aspects of it. I'll make a motion that we extend up to, extend the lease for 6 months.
Second.
Further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So do you want to start the bond resolution process next month? I mean, just because you adopt a bond resolution doesn't mean you have to borrow money. But at least you've got the process done so that if it gets to that point where you do need it, you're going to buy it.
Do we need to know exactly how much that's going to be though?
We need an estimate, which I think Brian's folks could give us, so, I mean, and we can, it's gotta be at least as much as you're gonna spend, so they can give us an estimate, we can round up if we have to.
We don't have to use the full
You
amount.
don't have to use the full amount, right? So-
We have that you guys, in the June bond resolution, added $1.2 million for the purchase of the Paul unit and generator.
I think we found out after that we had to bid it, right?
And I believe that was
Yeah.
rescinded,
That was, yeah.
yeah. Because they determined the process.
So it was sent in public.
What, Nick?
When was it rescinded?
I don't know.
The municipal board made a motion to rescind their motion to the board to purchase the unit. And that was after this board decided to put it out to have Gymo prepare a performance specification for the unit rather than actually purchase it. So the municipal board rescinded, right, Wendy? The
Rescinded
municipal
their
board rescinded that motion.
recommendation to this board.
Right. This board had already decided to do the procurement, performance bond, to procure that unit. It's a lot.
What's the quickest, Joe, that you think for tying up the loose ends of the bids and the bond resolution? Could we meet in 2 weeks, or would it take longer? Would we be better off? You said something about doing that in September.
Well, it's up to the board. If you wanna do it in 2 weeks, we can have it ready. I don't know about.
You have 90, this
Yeah, I
this
mean, you've got
pilot
ti- you've
starts,
got time, because-
you have until the end of November for the pilot.
My suggestion is we go ahead and start the bond resolution process, whether you ever buy the thing or not,
Okay.
because you'll have it approved, so that if you do decide to buy it, you can go out and borrow the money for it. So my only suggestion is we do the bond resolution at your September meeting, start the time period running, and then if you decide to buy it during the time that you're still leasing it, and you do the public bidding and you decide to go forward, then you're all ready. But if we wait, then and we decide you're gonna go forward, then we're losing more time. So,
You need a motion for us to start the bid process, actually advertise that? I thought you said something about that in the email.
well, we would, but
Not yet.
I just don't think we're ready yet, so.
Yeah, I thought.
Well, they already
Then start the
authorized you
bid process.
did they already authorize you?
Yeah, that's
July.
not.
They authorize them to prepare
Prepare the bid package.
Right, but we still want to review it.
Right, we have to review it before
Right.
it goes, before we
Right.
actually go out to bid.
Municipal board's gonna want to review it too. Capital committee's gonna want to review it.
So that can be ready for the September meetings.
Yeah.
The bid package can be ready for the September meetings.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to have it done in time for the second Tuesday of the month. So before that even, so that we have a chance to review it,
It's all right.
including the municipal board. and then the following week, provided it's perfect, this board can authorize. Can you really do that?
You saying you want me to push them on?
No, I'm not saying anything.
So
That's
is
great,
3
you
week-
can.
Is 3 weeks not enough time? Is what he's asking.
I think it's doable.
1, 2,
Okay.
3. Actually, it'll be September 11th will be the next municipal board meeting. You have almost a month.
Yeah.
Because then our meeting will be on the 19th.
Yep.
But
So,
we'll want to, we'll meet during that process.
Well, so do I, how much ahead of that month? Do I have a month, or do I have 3 weeks?
That's what I'm talking about.
that's what I was gonna say. I
Yeah.
didn't finish.
I think
So,
2 to 3 weeks is fine
Okay.
okay.
for us to give you that package, even if it's a draft to review.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be integrally involved.
Okay.
Did we finish our motion to the Pauline? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on that? Okay. Microfiltration water treatment system bid process.
That's what we just did.
Same thing.
Check off.
So, local law zoning amendments. We are not able to attend to that as we have made a phone call. This and the land contouring, we've made a phone call to the county letting them know it was coming their way. It was not sent to them until the next day, so they were not able to accept that in their deadline. They're having a meeting tomorrow.
It's on their agenda anyway.
Yep. Don't get me started. So we can do that next month. East State Street truck law?
Yes, can I report on that, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Judge Scordo has, I sent a memo out to Chief Rogie, Superintendent Campo, and Judge Scordo. Judge Scordo responded that she didn't feel that she should be involved because she would be the one to have to prosecute that. I would agree. And Randy said whatever, so I guess within the next 30 days, if I can get Tom to go up to be a part of it, and Randy and myself, we will move on that. But as of right now, that's where it stands. Randy said he was available most mornings, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Tom yet to get something set up.
And I didn't get, can I say something on that?
Sure.
I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but the other day I did talk to Phil and Randy. I was looking up some stuff, and basically what I found, and maybe Joe can take a look at it and get back to you. In our code book, section 189-13, it talks about streets and trucks and what's allowed and not allowed. But then it also refers you to go to Schedule 10 on 189-5. And that section lists any streets that have a weight limit on them. So I don't think you've got to redo a complete law or anything. I think really just one that was done here a year or so ago needs to be eliminated. And possibly just, you were talking a weight limit, just go with your weight limit and look, like I say, look under 189-13 and Schedule X under 189.
13 or 3?
189-13. And then that'll refer you to Schedule 10, 189-55. And I think all you gotta do is come up with a weight limit that you wanna put, and it's, looks like it would be pretty simple to me. Because the 189-13, Dan, takes in the different restrictions. And I would say, when you guys meet, go with a Class 7 truck, which would put you at
You said you met with, you talked to
just
someone,
over
Randy?
26,000 pounds, or 13 ton. And then according to that other schedule, it would cover everything.
Do we have to sign whatever roads that would state that, correct?
Yeah, you would put the street down.
do we have to sign those roads too, so that people coming into the village know?
Oh, absolutely, you have to have it posted.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But like right now, where you've got the Ross Road on it, I take Ross Road completely off, eliminate it. Just do your East 8. Ross Road will take any truck traffic, plus that'll give them an out if somebody comes to the corner down there. They can swing up there. You probably don't want the truck traffic. You didn't hear that. But just take a look at those two sections, and I think it'll make it a lot easier redoing it.
Thanks, Joe, I will.
We go with that one? Central Lewis County Regional Water Study. Municipal Board was discussing this.
No one, at last night's municipal board meeting, no member of the municipal board would make the motion. So it's tabled. I guess, but that's what happens.
Yeah, Pam said they just didn't talk about it. They didn't say a motion either way. I wasn't there, but she said that. They didn't really
Wednesday
talk
next
about
week.
it.
The 11th. Okay, anything else for unfinished business that we've forgotten? New business. Something they've done for the past number of years is the detour for the Cream Cheese Festival, affecting Route 26 north from New York State 12 intersection in the village of Lowville to New York State Route 812 intersection of Boswick Street, closed through traffic. Streets of Parkway Drive and Park Place will be closed to street parking and through traffic.
Motion to approve. It's the same as last year, right?
Yep.
Say motion to approve.
I'll second, and we can discuss the rest.
What are the dates?
September 15th.
And she's,
Oh, it says August 15th. Oh, no, that's today's date.
Yeah.
says September 15th.
Yes, September 15th, Saturday.
Motion to approve.
We plan to repave Parkway. We'll just make sure that it's done.
They don't really use Parkway?
They don't use
Parkway?
There, we're getting,
Oh,
get
Parkway,
it to go, that
yes.
there.
Oh, I thought you
Never
meant
said
Park
Park-
Place, sorry. Parkway. Yeah.
Motion to approve.
It's a suggestion, they should probably put up some type of truck detour sign that morning on one end of town or the other.
They do.
Then
They have them all the way down by Ross Road. We have actually quite a few.
Send them down.
Because we
Eight,
was in a
12.
pickle last year over that, remember?
Yeah.
Street.
Didn't they?
No, the state puts up the big signs for us, as well as we have signs detouring to which way people should go if they're looking for 12 north.
Double checking.
Yeah. Tom Woodrick assists with that.
Last year, we had a couple issues.
Yeah. Remember that. Never came back though, did he?
No.
I'm sorry, Dan made a
Oh,
motion to accept.
That's it.
You seconded Ed. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
CSEA memorandum of agreement. This is something that came in just after our board meeting. It's from a discussion that Joe and I had in regard to the health benefits for our employees with the, what was it, the HSA or the HRA? Increase of $200. So through our discussion with some of our DPW members and the CSEA rep, things that were discussed is that a committee will be created consisting of members from the village and CSEA. This committee will work together to monitor health insurance and discuss future changes as they arise. Every time that there is even a minor change, if any of the percentages change or what we expect them to pay, apparently we're supposed to have a specific sit-down meeting with them before making the decision. They will offer their assistance from their health benefits department to assist the village moving forward with a review of plans and suggestions on improvements. They said that every year when we get our notice, that we can simply send our information to CSEA, and they have an entire department who will reply back within 7 to 10 days if they think that this is the best plan, or if they think there might be a better plan. We don't have to take that plan, but this is something that they suggested is a free service to us should we wish to use it. And they're highly recommending that we do. All changes will be discussed at this committee with a resolve that will benefit both the village and CSEA. Employees will be provided with a 60-day notification of any changes the committee endorses. So, as soon as we get any kind of notification of any changes, we need to have someone be willing to jump in that hoop and start the ball rolling, because we need to give a 60-day notification. There is an agreement that the increase in the deductible that prompted the charge will be resolved by each party absorbing 50% of the cost, which was agreed to in the meeting. Parties agree that all other terms and conditions contained in the collective bargaining agreement for the period of June 1st, 2017 through May 31st, 2019 shall remain in full force and effect, and that such terms shall not be altered, nor will the agreement be reopened until such time that the parties negotiate a successor agreement, and that this agreement shall become effective immediately. Are there thoughts or questions on any of this?
The only thing I would say is,
Yeah.
where they said they would offer their assistance, look over our health benefits and things. I would hope they would get back to us within 7 to 10 days, because
I agree.
this agreement took a little over 2 months to get back to us.
I agree entirely.
And when we talked that day, I was under the impression within the next week we'd have it in our hands.
And
That's
the last
That's why I
time,
won't vote for this.
that's the last time that we needed assistance with violence prevention or something like that. It was months and months and months, and I finally put it together myself.
That's what started this whole thing, their charges.
Well, no, what started the whole thing was us deciding after the agreement had taken place that, because we then received notification that our amount was going to change for our HSA, and we didn't feel that we should assist with that. However,
I just mean, reading this over, yes, we did discuss items 1, 2, and 3, but the only thing that we really agreed to was 4, 5, and 6. Although I'm not against discussing the health insurance with them.
And you know what, if we do our due diligence and we don't hear anything back, we've done what we're supposed to do. Any further questions?
And I think once this is signed, here's that thing that
You would need to
asking for it
authorize.
to be dismissed, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you and I will both sign that, because we were both at that meeting.
Just a comment that, this is all for the public works guys. This is for the DPW. But this affects every employee at the village. But no one else has a say. None of the PD, none of the administration, the clerk, the deputy clerk. treasurer, deputy treasurer.
That's the same with any issue when you're dealing with a collective bargaining unit versus
Right.
non-unionized personnel, so.
It just, I don't know that the board realizes that, but like, this affects everybody, but we have no say, none. That's all.
I ran into that years ago, Tom, when I wasn't in the union. There was a group of us that weren't, our shop was
I know, Joe, I'm just saying.
open, so you could belong to the union or you
Yeah,
couldn't.
I'm just speaking on behalf of the silent majority.
But I mean, we took basically what the union members negotiated, and we paid whatever they said we had to pay.
Right, exactly.
And
Joe?
remember, all this is a compromise to avoid further costs of the arbitration.
Kudos to you for the hard work. You
I mean,
made,
this will close things out and we'll be done with it, but
you made the statement though that you didn't agree with 1, 2, or 3, or nothing came. So did they draw this up?
Yes, this was sent to us. It was discussed, and we said that we, you know, these weren't anything that would
We were
really
open to
bind
it.
us to anything, and that we certainly could do that in the future. Do you agree with that, Joe?
yeah.
So she put them down as bullet points. Keep us on our toes. So is there a motion that Joe and I could sign this?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Ed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Budget amendments for the water fund in the amount of $18,500.
I'll make that motion to make that amendment.
I'll second.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Ed. All in favor?
Aye.
Proposed local law for subdivision amendments. This is something that came across our desks. With Kathy Manning looking at this. There are a few minor changes. I'm not sure if all of you saw those changes. And Joe, this came from you, correct?
Yeah, this makes, there were some inconsistencies between your village code and the village law in connection with the timing of filing subdivision plats. So this makes it consistent and cleans up some grammatical stuff, that's all it is. So what you need to do is introduce it tonight and schedule a public hearing for next month.
I would make a motion to schedule a public hearing for our September 19th board meeting with that public hearing opening at 5 p.m.
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Surplus 2008 Chevy Trailblazer.
I'll make a motion to declare that surplus.
Second.
Do we need to say where we're gonna advertise it?
Well, that's what-
Like we usually do, or
Yeah,
no?
we should. He's gonna put it on auction.
Possibly an action.
Want that all in the same motion? You do all.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we declare the 2008 Chevy Trailblazer surplus and authorize Randy to put it on Auctions International.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Charlie. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Lowville Fire Department budget is presented here. I did have a question for them. They do, it's something that actually came up in the office, I'll just share. They have a workers' comp line here. That is for any employees that they hire, whether it's behind the bar or to clean or anything of that nature. So that is theirs. We are, again, handling the workman's comp. Instead of the town, they switched it back to the village through the comptroller's office and through the county, just so everyone is aware of that.
That's where, Joe may have some recommendations on this budget after he looks it over. But I would recommend, I'm pretty sure we already know the dollar amount, I don't have it with me, but that get added to the contribution that they're looking for their workers' comp. Either that or a separate line item, because I know
We can
what's
add-
gonna happen is it's not specifically spelled out in the fire contracts.
We can spell that out specifically in the.
Going
contract.
forward, we should do that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I know right now that the town billed the different fire districts. 2 of us paid, the other 2 are refusing because it's not in the contract.
Right, but we add that to the contract.
But I was thinking
That they
if
approve.
it's in the budget, it's definitely gotta be spread. If it's budgeted for is what I'm getting at. And it will have to be split between everybody. I'm just recommending that be the way to do it.
That's absolutely right.
So have them just add it to their budget.
Or we will.
I say, we've discussed
And
in
then
the past.
all we'd have to do is subtract it from our share when we pay them.
Right, but what we've done in the past, Joe, is we've always said here that we can add any additional cost of having the fire department to each individual contract.
And I guess my other question on it here is it's a pretty healthy itemized deduction for the capital fund, but there's no breakdown on the capital fund of what that's gonna cover. I guess I'm looking, is that gonna cover major improvements up there? I know they probably still would like the apron replaced in front of the building.
It's another
Is
thing that will be
Is
discussed
that figured
later.
in there?
No, this is probably for, I'm gonna assume replacement of air packs, truck, to have money put aside for trucks.
For
'cause
basically
ca-
equipment for the fire department?
Yes. Yep.
You
They,
want-
I mean, there's a couple members here, I just,
You looking for a comment?
or, sure, if you, do you have one? Everybody's got one.
As the prior 6-year budget officer, we presented this budget for
Yeah.
6 years in a row. The capital piece is for equipment and/or vehicles or anything else that we wish to purchase or need to purchase. It's got air packs and other pieces. But as you know, we do the letter rate intake, and that money goes into some of it too. So there's 2 things that go towards buying equipment and vehicles and stuff. But we've looked at our overall cost for a 10 or 15-year period, and that's the annual breakdown, annual for 10 to 15 years. So we won't spend it all in 1 year. We may, if you like with Scott backs, I think we did. So, but I don't believe any of it was spent for like building improvements while I was doing it. They may have changed now.
well, that's what I'm getting at. I'm just wondering if there should be
You did?
some money added in there for those building improvements that you gentlemen have been looking for.
Up here at the top is the building. So if you look over there, electricity, telephone, heating, fuel, natural gas,
But
building
that-
maintenance.
That
Joe, you gotta
maintenance-
keep
That
in
maintenance
mind-
figure won't even come close to paying for half of what
Well,
they
you
need.
gotta
up
keep in
front.
mind, the fire department members raise about $90,000 a year, and that goes to the other stuff that you're talking about.
That
A
goes
lot of
where?
people don't realize that. The members in the fire department, with all the fundraisers and stuff that they put on, the average is between $80,000 and $90,000 a year. And that pays for that stuff you were just talking about. Like, we just bought a $15,000 sliding door. I believe that was about the price of it, right?
But what I'm getting
You
at,
never see that at all. That budget could be another 90,000 more if we put everything in.
what I was trying to get at, Dick, is I realize the fire department does a great job of raising money and doing this, but I feel when it comes to like maintenance and that stuff, that the towns should be paying a share of that. And if it's in the budget, then it would get spread. What I'm getting at is, we're actually housing the trucks and everything up there, keeping a building to keep them in it for the winter time and everything. And basically, it's the fire department and the village that's paying the major expense. The towns aren't paying any share towards the capital improvements of the property where you guys store your trucks. I'm just saying that needs.
They're paying it in that capital piece there in that budget. They're not paying the other pieces of it. But I'm no longer involved, so have at it, raise that budget all you want.
I just feel the towns,
Hang on to your hats.
it should be in there so the towns pay more, that's all.
Right, but I think that the capital fund is for actual fire equipment, firefighting equipment.
Apparatus.
Well, that's-
I don't know the date, it was either July the 2nd or July the 9th, that the fire department was presented a proposal for their property and casualty insurance that was about $16,000 less than they're currently paying. And then the umbrella for another $2,000 could be increased from $2,000 to $5,000. It was decided at that time that they would give the current agent a chance to come back, look at it and come back. And as far as I know, as of yesterday, that still hasn't happened. And that agent also had the opportunity, because he is a agent for the company that the other agent brought in, proposed it. That company has said they haven't seen it in years. So my feeling is I hope that the fire department will for their own benefit, because as we talk about fundraisers, if they're raising $90,000 a year and they're flipping chickens and they make $10,000 or $11,000 out of the year, that's money that just went towards the insurance. So, and I'm familiar with these companies. I'm not an agent that's involved in it. We did it because we were concerned that we wanted to make sure that insurance mirrored what we needed as a village. Also, technically, this village board can oversee that, or technically should oversee that, according to my discussions with Attorney Russell. Would you concur with that?
Right.
Okay. I'm not suggesting at this time we do that, but
I think they're looking into it.
I think they are too, but I think that the current agent certainly shouldn't be taking 45 days to get back to them on an issue like that. Because every day that he does, it's $30 to $40 to the fire department. But more importantly, I'd like to see that umbrella increased for protection of the members
That was going to
and
be
the
one of my
village and
comments.
communities and everybody. Because that, to me, that $3 million extra umbrella is as important or more important than the cost. And yet there's a savings there with more. And the company that's proposed is VFIS. There's two major companies in the country that write fire departments, VFIS and ESIP. And they write probably 90% of the fire departments in the nation. I personally write just one fire department. It's not something that I go out and actively campaign for, because every agent has their own niche that they want to work with, and that's not one I want to. Nor do I want to work with municipalities. I have one of those. The gentleman that went in writes 40 or 50 fire departments and 80 or 90 municipal agencies, municipalities, of which we are one. And my hands-on with this gentleman is nil or none, but I think in discussing this with the mayor, we've gotten very good service from Eastern Shores. And that would be the same company that went in and looked at the fire departments. So I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on that.
The only thing I probably, there are two things that I want to just mention here. There is a new cancer insurance of $4,000, which is a new thing from New York State this year that fire departments were told to put in their budget. The ironic thing is it covers you while you are active until approximately the age of like 50 or 55. Do you remember that discussion? It's not even something that covers you later on in life. So I just have to say to New York State, I think this is a completely backwards thing that you're asking them to do. The other thing is the umbrella of $1 million. I do feel that should be increased. Our insurance agent, I believe it was $5 million. Does that sound correct?
Once I looked at it wrong, they currently have $2 million.
Yours says $1 million.
Does it say $1 million? Okay, I said it correct.
So that's something that I probably will confirm with our agent, because the fire department is the village, and that would protect village residents as well with a claim. So I'm just going to follow up on that, but that might be the only changes. Are we asked to, do we usually accept this budget?
No.
Should we? Attorney Russell?
With possible possible increase to $5 million, or should we wait until there's an update on the?
We should probably wait for an update.
But I guess my question is, as protocol, the village board probably each
You
year
should- you should- you should.
accept this budget and
Right,
pass a resolution.
I would think so, okay.
Dick can confer with this, but the cancer insurance, I don't think covers all the members. I think it covers interior. doesn't it?
Interior
Yeah.
roads.
So
Right.
it's only the interior
Which,
activity.
right, which also doesn't make sense, because the
Exactly.
guys outside running the trucks are breathing in, the people on the inside are wearing the masks to protect them
Just
more.
wanted to mention it. There's no
Right?
choice out.
I know, the whole thing is completely interesting.
You don't want to try to figure the state out this point, you might do it.
So I will ask,
They are trying to adjust that.
I know that, yeah, but I say the way it was written. it's-
I will ask Doug Hano, he is the one, on those two questions.
Can I just tell you that usually when Dick brought me the budget, we always sent out a letter and a copy of the budget to each fire department with a date of a meeting. With each, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, each
So ask him
town.
about it.
Yeah, I didn't get that from Doug this time, so I don't have any instruction to mail this to them.
Okay,
The towns really like it, so
Yeah, so they
I'd
can,
go ahead and copy the letter I used to give you and change the name and date.
yeah, but I don't have a meeting date for them to meet with.
I don't think they've done that in a number of years, actually, that was something that
Oh,
was
we
discussed
did
at
it
the,
when Dick
They did
was
it
here, we
by
did,
like-
yeah.
yeah.
It helps because the towns can come and have input to it. And then I
ask
feel like when it gets to them, it's not a.
I think last year I just sent a little memo that said, call the fire department at this number if you have any questions.
Yeah.
Could be.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'll wait until you find that out if you could.
Yep. Anything else with that budget? Water sewer fees.
So this is something that's been on the municipal board's agenda for several months. You know, we met, a couple of us, chairman and another person from the municipal board, and went over these fees. It's something that, I say months, maybe years, right, Charlie?
Several.
So, we met and wanted to get these things off of the agenda, so these are the fees that, the committee came up with for water and sewer services, because it was never defined.
I got one question on, we're talking tap-in fees. Does that include materials?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
And on your frozen service, where you got like 0 to 4 hours, is that $100 for 4 hours or
No.
$100 per hour
$100 for the first 4.
for the first?
And so it's $100 for 5 to 8 hours.
An additional 100.
So if they were there 8 hours, it'd be $200.
So the reason there's a
If they need
fee,
a new meter, it's $150.
okay, frozen meters, you know, it's gotta be replaced. So the first time is no charge. And usually what happens if there's, and it's a repeat person or residence, you know, somebody buys the house and the water meter freezes, we go, we thaw the line, the service, and we tell them, we take a new a reading, tell them, let your water drip so that it won't freeze again, because moving water won't freeze. So we tell them, leave your faucet cracked, we take a meter reading, and then what we do at the end is we average out the previous cycles that we have and charge them the average, not, we're gonna bill you for every drop that goes through the meter, so. But, is that humorous? We could charge for it,
Well,
but,
I leave mine dripping, but I have a well. So
right, and a septic.
right now, I'll be on Town of Watson water and another.
Amen, you and me.
They usually have to call us and let us know that they're dripping their water, just so
We,
Yeah, that's
if we replace the meter because it's froze, or their service was froze, we tell them to let it run. And then we usually report to you that, yep, that one's done. Because you know, because we give you, hey, this is the new meter with a new serial number. It was frozen.
Can I ask you a quick question? Tapping fees, the 3/4 inch to an inch is 1,000, over an inch is 1,000. Were we also looking at the charge of the different, what are the things that everybody bottlenecks down to 2 inches with a 4-inch? Did we,
That's already part of the law. This is just a schedule that goes with the law. It's in our zoning, in our
Right.
water and sewer use.
right,
So this is just so sewer and water use laws refer to a schedule. There never was one. This is the schedule. So if you have a 2-inch meter, then it's a different tap. It's based on the tap. You're gonna pay more money per billing period based on the size of your meter. Does that make sense? If you have a
Right.
6-inch meter, you're gonna pay a lot more than if you have just a 3/4.
right, but that's been an issue and something that we discussed changing. Are they not interested in changing that aspect of the law, is my question. Because if we're gonna change the law and put something in, I'd love to have it all together rather than do it twice.
Huh?
Remember how we discussed that? at different
That's not,
times?
well,
Or no?
that's not really a law. Wouldn't normally be a law.
Thought you just
But if
said-
I was gonna have a fire suppression system, I would not bottleneck it down.
Right, but the
I
charge.
know exactly what you're talking about. And the municipal board has stated that from one municipality to another municipality, we would waive the fee, or they would waive the fee for the larger or smaller meter size.
To
That
be
makes-
waived.
The fee would be waived. So like a 6-inch meter has a semi-annual charge of, I don't know what it is, $500. Whereas a 3/4 inch meter has a base charge of like $50. Municipal board has already made that recommendation that in good faith to our neighboring municipalities, we would not charge a higher rate for a larger meter.
Because what happens is they have a big water pipe coming in, bottleneck it down to 2-inch for where the meter is, and then blast it back up, but they expect to have the 6-inch or 4-inch amount of pressure for fire suppression.
Ask our
or
firemen if
whatever.
that's a good idea.
Well, no, but it's true, we have that issue in our village, because other entities will,
Not in our village.
no, not in our village, I'm sorry, outside of our village. And it's not the way it should be. I just didn't know if that was something that needed to be included in this.
That is something that has been expressed several times.
So do we need to, is this fee schedule actually in our law book?
No,
In our
this-
code
this-
book? This is just something that we can adopt.
This fee schedule is submitted to this board to approve at tonight's meeting.
I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Questions? All in favor? Opposed? Carries. NGI, additional water quality testing proposal.
I'll probably defer to Tom a little bit, but the capital committee has met twice. The first time was kind of to brainstorm some ideas in light of our water shortage issue. Second time, Tom, we got Jay on the phone, correct?
Correct.
And he talked over some things. He was at last night's municipal board meeting.
So this Jay that he's talking about, that Ed is talking about, is the hydrogeologist from Northeast Geoscience, which is our consultant.
So they made a motion to go forth with this testing of the 2 wells as a possible source for groundwater. I don't want to say necessarily an alternative, because I guess there's a way that we can blend groundwater with our surface water. The interesting one, I think, is if you skip down to where he pointed out about the Krogan system as an analogous one to us, although they use just groundwater, correct?
Correct.
So this would just study some possible other sources that we can look into the future. The power unit we discussed earlier. You know, that's an ongoing thing that we're gonna need, but this might be something that I guess we don't know exactly what we're getting ourselves into, but it could be something for a future, in the future, it could be a very good source that maybe alleviate some of the issues we're running into now.
And more groundwater means less chemicals to treat, am I correct with that?
Correct.
Yeah, that's one of it. It's not so
They
much
still
the-
make us treat it, but not
right.
quite as intensely.
That's one of the things we've been kind of fighting is it's not so much the water for the source, it's how do we get, what kind of water it is, and it's the filtering that seems to be the somewhat of an issue.
Okay, so we have to accept this proposal?
Municipal board recommended unanimously to the board to authorize this proposal to do more sampling and more testing to further validate this source as a ground source.
Right, that's the other thing, is you guys met with the Department of Health, which,
Right.
I make the motion to approve this estimated cost of $17,000 to move forward.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Charlie, thank you, Ed. Further discussion? All in favor? All in favor?
Vanilla?
Chocolate.
It's not even hungry right now.
Do you have something for Donna to sign for this?
Yep, this,
You have it?
so, well, the motion, and I think everybody just voted to pass it, is enough for him. And he will bill us monthly, which is very typical.
Okay.
And didn't he say too, Tom, that, I mean, not to put him on the spot, but he thinks we're probably gonna have some answers maybe by end of October?
Yes.
Should the Department of Health copy?
It's just,
Okay. Oh,
I mean,
okay. Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Board member appointments. So, we have been successful in rejoining our village and town planning and zoning board of appeals. And Randy and I have come up with a plan for us to be able to appoint a member of the village and an alternate onto each board. So I'm going to list off the following individuals with the term limits, and can we make a motion all at the end? Is that all right with everybody? Planning Board, Henry Avalone to 12/31/2021, which he is currently on the board, and that's currently his date. Planning Board alternate would be Don Cook to 12/31/2020. Zoning Board of Appeals, an actual board member would be Tom Widrick to 12/31/2019. And the Zoning Board of Appeals alternate would be Carla Hellinger to 12/31/2020. I would make that motion to appoint those individuals to represent us.
Just one person there that I don't know if I want on that board.
All right.
I second that.
Second.
Thank you, Charlie. All in favor?
I second Dan.
Oh, I gotta stick up for Henry.
Opposed?
I-
Okay. And I'm gonna send a letter to our other board members, just letting them know. I might send that to you. Ask your assistance with that. Okay, 5495 River Street, unsafe structure. That is something that has been discussed between us and the county, whether it's a village thing, a county thing, whether the code enforcement officers, which we use the county, if that's part of our contract. I spoke with Ward Daly today, and I would make the motion to deem this residence that suffered a fire as an unsafe structure and allow Ward to take it from here and let us know what he needs to do to make this at least a safe structure for people to walk by or have the owners boarded up or something of that nature. I don't know how demolition and all
Does she need
that.
our permission for that as the mayor? Does she need our permission for that as the mayor?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, I think the county code office has.
No, but she can declare it an emergency
Right,
and
she
be done
can, well,
with it.
she can, yeah. But certainly wouldn't hurt for the board to approve the resolution as long as you're here.
Sure.
Is that all right?
Mhm.
Did you just second that for me, Dan?
I did.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I did not wish fire on my worst enemy. Craft surcharges. May, the amount of $0, and June in the amount of $3,000.
I'll make the motion to approve the June.
Second that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And Joe, I wanted you to know that Ward and I did also discuss the email that you had sent back, and we're just gonna figure it out. We have, okay, we have correspondence here, but do you guys mind if we just do some public comment, because there are quite a few people here this evening?
Not at all.
Would that be all right?
Good idea.
Public comment this evening.
I've got just a follow-up on the natural gas issue still going on. I gave Dan a couple copies.
I asked them last Wednesday at a meeting as well.
Well, just to refresh, 3 years ago, I got a guarantee from the honcho, Tim Karski, stating I wouldn't have it that fall, but I'd have it the next year. Never really heard back from him again. He put it off to Jeff Sauter. Jeff Sauter's got property outside the village. Jeff's trying to get gas up on by the trooper station and those houses up there. So Jeff told me that he relayed the message that I wasn't going to be on the next amendment. Guy could at least called me up and told me that, you know, and he didn't. So I didn't hear back from him. My brother got me another number to call another guy, and I did, like the first part of July. Didn't hear back from him. At the end of July, Karski finally called me back 3 years after a phone call I had. And he said the Public Service Commission has a law, a rule, whatever, stating you have to have a 10-year payback now for them to approve, you know, new properties. Could be, could not be. I'm just going on good faith, and I have no faith right now. So we got into the whole discussion on, you know, he said it was going to be $55,000 to run a gas line down our road, which I talked to a couple guys today and they just laughed. And I'm sure it'd be a hell of a lot less than that. But the thing that really torqued me was the fact that he gets into this economics issue, and I've been at this for at least 5, probably 6 years. Went through it with Dennis Bishop was on the board. He got me the contract. Danny's got a copy of that.
JD, I gotta apologize, I didn't get back into town, I know it's sitting in my office.
Okay, that's
I'll
fine.
look at it first thing in the morning.
That's fine. But anyway, it basically states the fact that, and I went through this with previous board members, that any street inside the village of Lowville, they're supposed to run gas to. Their out was, it wasn't on the original public service map.
Which I have highlighted areas
So, you know,
were not included within the village limits.
I'll let Dan speak for himself. I had a conversation with them shortly after I had a conversation with Karski. But you can't give me this economics crap when they got some monster users here in Lowville that they've been billing for the get-go. And I'm 500-600 feet from the craft line, and he told me it was 1,000 feet to where, from our property down to where they'd probably hook on to come up the road. So, I asked you this before, if you asked the attorney, how do these franchises just run roughshod over you and you don't have a recourse on it?
I
So-
asked Wednesday, and he said that it was in Binghamton, waiting for approval.
Who told you this?
Who was the head honcho there? Tom? Who, or Gymo, who was the head person at our meeting?
Oh,
Who's the
Marlheister?
White mustache,
Yeah,
short white
Marlheister,
hair,
something like that.
tall, thin.
Karski's always the guy that, I'll give Karski credit, because he was the only guy that talked to me for the first 3 years.
Well, he knew when Donna brought it up to him at our meeting.
I asked him
He
point
knew
blank,
exactly what
what's
she was
going on
talking
with my
about.
Ross
Right.
Road gas line? And
Right.
he goes, it's in Binghamton waiting for approval.
Well,
And I looked at him, I said, seriously? And he said, it is.
Karski's response was not that, whether he never put it in or not, I guess it's irrelevant. And I'm gonna bring this back up the same way I approached this thing years ago, when I talked to Randy, Donna, and whoever. There's gotta be some teeth into this thing, so, you know, the industrial, or, IDA was after me to try to set up an industrial park and sign on to a contract and do this and that. Well, hell, doesn't the Joe business owner or landowner that's in the village have any rights to these guys at all? And so I got a nice letter that went out to Joe Griffo again, because we'd already met with Joe. He's the State Energy Commission chairman or whatever. And he did everything he said he was gonna do, short of, you know, talking to NYSEG themselves. But I just don't think it's right that they can pick and choose and do what the hell they want in the village. And Dan, in my conversation was, if he'd have known that when he was mayor, he'd have never signed the contract. Mickey Lehman, who did the same thing over in Krogan, he said that was in the contract and they abide by it. Everybody in that village of Krogan that wants, or town, whatever they're set up as, they get it, they want it, they get it. The village of Lowville isn't the same.
I'm appalled because I got beat up really bad when I was the mayor because I wanted NYSEG and NYSEG only. And the St. Lawrence Gas, our village board at that time decided 4-1 to send both to the Public Service Commission. St. Lawrence Gas was eliminated because they couldn't get to us because the town wouldn't let us, okay? The reason I wanted NYSEG was because they would run gas to the south of the village for other people in the county, which I thought was important. But damn it, I also believed and said everybody in this village first was going to get gas.
Yep.
And NYSEG could better figure out a way, in my eyes, to come through with this, or they're going to have a real adversary on.
I'm concerned the fact that the Public Service Commission, you know, they should. I get the fact that economics, they want a 10-year payback, whatever, but you can't just hook up the biggest user probably in the North Country, Kraft, and just say the hell the rest of the guys.
Who's right over the hill?
That's the problem. So the Public Service Commission, if Karski's telling me the truth, that's one of their mandates. That's wrong. They should not be able to have the gravy and then screw everybody else. And that's, like I said, if they said 55,000 back when the guy said it was 5,000, we probably could have done it for 1,000 by ourselves. You know, it's just ridiculous. And you know, somebody besides me is going to get screwed on this deal. The village of Lowville, everybody's looking for taxes. Everybody wants tax dollars. They want economic development. Everybody wants everything to come to their spot. Well, guess what? NYSEG's not going to come out there because maybe there wasn't enough gas, you know, customer requirements or whatever. Bull crap. One politician makes a phone call, he's going to get it. I'm sitting here paying village taxes, and they're actually catering with Jeff Sauter outside the village. And I don't have a problem with that.
Well, and they ran all the way down here East State Street, didn't they, trying to get over to the highway garage?
Well, the bottom line is they blame it on the guy that was running the show. He went beyond his pay grade.
Limitations.
So I just would love to see some teeth thrown at these guys and say, look, man, you can't just drive over the top because you've done it for too long. And legally, I don't know what the franchising and how you get at it.
This is the first time I've heard about the issue, so I have to review the franchise
Yeah,
agreement.
information.
Gene, where was I don't know this, I have an idea of where the village limit was back when they did this. It was not far from your farm,
Well,
correct?
it's just on the other side of that little garage at the end of my driveway. And then it goes up diagonally across, you know, where Terry's storage buildings are, and there's the monument right there. And where our water problem is, that monument is flopped over because it's washed out. That was the line.
not that far.
So we've been in it, you know, there's no question that that's been in forever. And 20 years ago, when Kraft wanted to do some kind of a water exchange deal, and they had some people, I don't know, Dan, you remember that probably, you were around. Kraft had hired a company to do some exchanging of water or something, and it was an energy efficient deal, and they wanted to find a least path of resistance. Fred Ramus was in on it, Haldeman's, our farm, and they couldn't figure out how to come up over the hill. So we put forth of bringing the road where our trailer is and coming up the backside of Kraft. Put the village road there, and I don't know if you were on board then or not, somehow I remember you were at the meeting, and nobody wanted to do it because it'd move us outside the village. But boy, it would save a lot of headaches, you know, to what they got now. But that was another issue.
I don't remember it, but I don't doubt it.
You know, so, you know, I just gotta believe there's something to hold these guys accountable, and, you know, there's probably some obscure.
Do you have a copy of that, Dan?
It's on my desk.
No, I'm just wondering if we should forward a copy to Joe. and
Yeah, I've got one right
look
here.
it over.
And I have the map
And then
actually on my
possibly-
desk,
Yeah.
still.
I think
Send
we
a
need
letter
to,
to
I
them,
think
so-
we need to politely put Senator Griffith's feet to the fire and say, hey, come on. And I'm hoping maybe you, Mayor, would draft a letter as a mayor of the village. And I'd be glad to talk with you with some verbiage that I would be happy to add to it. You know, that was, I know gentlemen's agreement don't mean anything today.
And I'll
That was
also
a
call
gentleman's
and
agreement.
ask questions with more detail and get back to you, Jamie.
But in Joe's letter, you know, the Public Service Commission should not be able to just say, okay, sorry, it didn't meet our economic specs, because they've already taken the good spots. So naturally, anything they do now is not gonna pan out.
But it assists you with your economic specs, doesn't
Well,
it?
I'm just saying, they should not be able to have that latitude.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll get into that. Other public comment?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
my name's Mark Pomaco, and my wife Judy. I own a state farm building is in Elm Street, in the corner. Just wonder if we could discuss the parking issue there right now. Two different parking areas, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on. Currently, my tenant's gotta walk like 130 yards to and from their car to the apartment. So I have no parking. And I have 6 apartments upstairs and 5 businesses down.
I know that I spoke with you
Yes,
previously.
you have.
So obviously there are spots out front that they can pull into to offload. My tenants, just for the record, I have 2 or 3 tenants. Some with cars, some without cars. I am where Smitty's Smoke Shop used to be. So my tenants have to cross State Street to get to their vehicle because I own, where my building is my property.
Right, right.
And we have the building next door as well, where not everybody fits in that driveway either. So I do feel your pain, just so you know, I am also a property owner with limited parking.
Right.
And your main concern was the no overnight parking in the smaller parking lot that was closest to you.
Right by the Lowville Commons there.
Right. So I know that we had discussed previously, they can to unload groceries and whatnot, and I believe you can somebody pull in that one spot right next to the stairs there
Yeah.
to be able to unload,
But,
but then have to go park their car across the street.
but if you have a single person with a baby, you know, I mean, they gotta carry everything back. I don't know. And see, before, I don't know, well, Dan was mayor then, I believe, when they redid the road out front. We used to be able to park kitty corner there.
It was Mary Young's, but yes.
Was it Mary Young?
You used to be able to pull in
Yes.
and back out, and when we did the main street,
Right.
they changed that so you couldn't pull in forward, it's now all parallel
Right, so
parking.
we lost basically
The
half.
state had a lot to say about that.
Yeah, it was the state. Yeah. But anyway, at that time, we had a meeting right there with at that time, and she said, well, you can park in the village parking. I said, well, okay, that's fine. But now it's all changed, so, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. at night, you can't park there.
Right,
So I just have a suggestion for the board.
absolutely.
Along the fence, Tom, you know where the fence is?
Yes.
By Berkeley.
Yes.
Could we do those alternating signs, one there and one right by the old bank commons between those two? And that way, when you come in to plow that whole corner towards Elm Street, you pile your snow there and so forth. And that would be.
So you would propose alternating the small lot with the parallel parking along the fence?
Yes, it's just an idea.
Alternating those rather than having them
Same night.
all the time.
Everybody
No
going
overnight
way
parking.
over to the
Yeah.
pavement. That's just a thought.
Yep.
I got a question for you. What if that small lot was changed to permit parking? And basically what you'd have to do, if you got 6 tenants, you'd have to buy a parking permit for them, and that would be good. Well, I'm thinking roughly $1 a day, so it'll be $30 a month you'd have to add probably to your rent. But then they could park there anytime, they'd have a permit, that lot would be just for, because I've suggested that before with other tenants, and I mean, it would be about $360 a year per spot, but then if you got the permit on the corner of your window,
You have to do an agreement with
you can stay there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I mean, that might work, but I'm afraid that'll snowball into a village-wide thing. You start permitting parking.
I'm talking just that one.
I know, but you know what I'm saying, is you're opening the door.
Well, what I'm getting at
to the
is-
whole village.
They do it in Carthage right now. I think it's possibly the Buckley building down there.
yes.
When they remodeled that Buckley building, the village owned a lot there, and they did not have parking for the Buckley building. So they have about half of that lot is strictly permit parking. That the Buckley building buys the permits for their tenants.
Maybe it'd be less. Joe's got me thinking, Mark, and my concern right now is, and I think I've shared this with you in the past, transitional living bought that building. And so we as a village lost $7,000, $10,000, whatever it is a year in tax money. Okay, so we pretty much take care of that lot for nothing. Here's my concern that really could happen to you in the future. Let's say all of a sudden something takes off in that building. Those spots that you're using right now, your tenant pulls out, somebody pulls in, now they don't have a spot at all. So maybe permitting, and I just asked Mr. Russell on the side here, maybe permitting, even if it was 50 cents a day, them a spot, would guarantee them a spot versus them not having a spot at all also. And it may never become an issue, but basically that lot's open to first come, first serve.
And
And-
I'm
Well,
sorry.
I'm open to it, but I don't know if you want to do that.
And I hear what you're saying, it could snowball.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's snowball right out
Yep.
of control.
Yep.
And I think too, just so you know, that the original reason for doing that is because for our snow plows to get in
I understand.
and pull the snow out, and the angle of that parking lot there at times is just enough, where we have had some very tricky situations.
I understand.
Tom should be screaming about plowing. As a plow operator, and I do parking lots, I don't know how you plow that, because if they've got a 24-hour access to that, they're gonna come and go any hour of the day and night they want to. The other guy doesn't. Tom, I don't know if you're in the plow business too, but
That's why it's the way it is right now.
I think that would be a nightmare, yeah. No offense, I'm
When
just
the loader,
offering
when
that
the
up.
loader starts to slide, it doesn't stop.
Well, but look on the other side.
Yeah.
I'm maintaining that building, paying my taxes,
Mhm.
and I have 11 units there.
Mhm.
My parking was taken from me when the state did the road.
Mhm.
So now, what do? I'm trying to come to some kind of an agreement.
No, I understand your plight.
No,
I'm just-
and this is a business-friendly community.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that rotating idea? Is that a good idea? In other words, the side, alternating dates so that they have a spot so that they can move the cars for you to plow, but instead of all having them the same?
First come, first served basis though.
Oh, yeah, we can't solve that.
Well, I'm just saying, if you do the alternating closer to me, it'd be better. But right now, I pace it off, or I can't remember, it's 130 yards to the middle of the two alternating parking spots right now. As soon as I show an apartment, and I tell them about the parking, they walk away. Especially any young lady with a baby, you know. They're not gonna carry the baby 130 yards. And they're not gonna leave the baby in the apartment by itself, you know what I'm saying? When they unload, so you gotta get that right tenant, you know?
Right.
Somebody that walks and doesn't have a car, you know, that's kinda hard to find. So I don't, you know, I'm up for permitting, if you can come up with a figure. Or maybe we could do the other option, closer to me at the sites. I'm just asking the board for the consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you be able to get back to me on that at a certain time frame?
I was gonna say within the next couple of weeks, we'll figure out who would like to kind of be on that. We'll call it the subcommittee and see what we can come up with, or have everybody look at that and see what we, I'm making my notes here, so
You want my number?
I can find it at that.
One last quick comment. The Bacon was in here a few months ago complaining about, or raising a concern about the same issue. And I'm thinking, you know, there's no guarantees that they have spaces either. If we say you want a guaranteed space and it's permit parking, maybe the same thing should happen to them too. Because they didn't like the alternating it, and I, you know, I hear them, but I don't, because the alternating mark was to assist them so that we could keep the lot clean. I used to park out back there every day when our
And to
agency
assist
was
us.
there. And that lot was a nightmare. There'd be cars that would be buried in with snow and on all that kind of stuff, and that's why
I understand
village built
completely.
well
Right.
allowed.
I run a plow truck myself.
Yeah, I know you do.
But on the other hand, with 11 units,
Yep.
what would you be doing?
Yep. Trying to figure out something.
So you need how many spaces altogether?
We got 3 spots now right out front of the building, and that seems to handle the businesses. So if we had 6 spots for the upstairs tenants, that would probably be good.
So if you all recall, the reason we did this was for public safety and for village liability. And this is the plan that we came up with and the board agreed upon. And we had somebody come in and make the same case, albeit a good case. And we turned the first group down. And in the interest of public safety and keeping those lots clean, if you issue and that's your decision, if you issue permits, you're going right back to the problem that we had before in cleaning that lot for 50 cents a day.
Can I ask one question, Tom? In the backside, though, we do have alternating nights there. Correct me if I'm wrong. In other words, one area you can't park, kind of what Mark is asking for over in the other area. One area is Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, the other's Tuesdays, Thursdays, correct? And that's what he's asking for here. So if we say the heck with the permit, I hear you there, but my question is, can we take along that fence and make it the opposite nights that it is right there by the bank?
Right.
So
Well,
that,
it's all no overnight.
so that way, if they can't park here overnight, they can at least park there.
So you're going to give them 3 days that they can park there, and the other 4 days they're going to have to park 130 yards away.
No,
No, he's saying alternating between the lot that's on the corner of
and the
Elm
fence.
and the fence. So this is one night, this is one night. This is one night, this is one night.
With, along the bank, Tom,
Entering
one night, and along the fence one night. That would still leave the whole corner towards Elm Street, South Street, State Street corner open. That's where you pile your snow. Because along the fence, it's parallel parking right now.
Yep. This board made the law. They have the power to change the law if they choose
Well, they're not
That's-
changing the law.
They would be, because
No.
now they're gonna make it alternating
It would-
days.
it
No, you're not changing the law, you're making it more fair. It's the same law, you're just alternating spots closer to me, just like you are behind the pavement.
Right, but it would require us to go through the whole process of changing, because as of right now, our law is written for no overnight parking.
I understand.
But that's.
It's the
yeah,
same thing, but just a little different.
Right, right.
I think that's fair. I'll fight for that.
But we will get back to you. Mark, let me, we have had others who have asked the same question. One night it is close to their building, the other opposite night it is not close to their building. And that's at a worse angle than what yours is, so
I know, it's hard to make everybody happy.
To me,
we can discuss
it's
this.
a no-brainer to me.
We can discuss this and figure it out.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment this evening? Nick?
Yeah, I'm gonna couple, I'll try to keep it 5 minutes if I can.
Thank you.
The first one is to do with the yard waste and trash, the branches and whatever that you have down on East State Street by the sewage treatment plant. My understanding was that's for village residents to take their limbs and grass and stuff to.
Yes.
Is there anything in there about who takes that? Because my son-in-law went down there and he cleaned out the old One housing site.
It depends on if you're getting paid for it
And
or
why
if
is
you're
that?
doing it
Because
yourself.
it belongs to the people paying taxes in the village of Lowville, which is what that site's for. Whoever owns the vehicle that takes it there, how does that figure into it? That guy's not making any money on it either way. The same day he did that, I did Tractor Supply, so if he's wrong, I'm wrong. And I took the Tractor Supply limbs up and put them in there as well. With 2 workers right there, never said a word to me. My truck doesn't say cutting edge. Water.
I spoke to him.
Yeah.
I feel I was very polite. I just asked him who he was and if he had permission. We have had a serious issue with commercial entities dropping off brush, whether it's within the village or not within the village, and creating, obviously we put that out there to help our residents, so that
That's
it
what I
was,
thought, yeah.
so that it was open
Yeah.
after hours. When I hire, which I've just done, hire a tree removal person to remove a tree, I don't expect,
Tree isn't really yard, is not limbs and grass.
but I'm hiring a person
Uh-huh.
to take care of my stuff
Sure.
at my house, okay?
Could you haul that to there?
Some of it I could.
Yeah. So because you're hiring the person, you can't. Is that what you're saying?
If you are a commercial entity, people who do that for a commercial business should have a way to remove that themselves, is
They
our thought and opinion.
They do. They have a way to take it where the village allowable taxpayers should be able to take his stuff. I pay taxes in this village.
The problem, Dick, is people are bringing entire dump trailers, and
And
it's,
I agree with you,
it's,
Tom.
it's not it's being abused. We've got guys bringing trees in, stumps the size of a pickup bed,
Yeah.
and dropping them off there.
I got
and-
no problem. That's not for that stuff. I agree with you 100%.
Right.
But some grass and leaves and a few low-hanging branches off a small tree, if I cut it off my lawn and I take it down there, I can do it. If I cut it off my neighbor's lawn and take it down there, I can't, is what I'm hearing. And yet, both of us are paying taxes and supporting that site within the village. The last thing on that, and I'll shut up, the letter that Tom wrote, I'm gonna bring a copy of it to you, because I think you need to see it if you have it. That was a nasty letter, Tom. I'm not gonna share it with the board tonight.
Go get it?
Sure. That was not a very, it seems like everything we do in the village here, we have to threaten. We'll fine you, we'll ticket you, all this negative stuff. A simple explanation that Donna just gave, well, you're a contractor, we're having trouble with contractors, please don't go there anymore. I think it would have been a lot better letter.
And it's very different, Dick, like, okay, so, like you said, if you have a couple branches, let's say my lilac bush right next to my house, I cut off a couple branches, I take it down. That's very different than a commercial entity showing up with an entire, all the small limbs from an entire tree and dumping it there.
But how about that
There's-
same commercial contractor showing up with a few limbs and some grass and leaves? I understand what Tom is saying, when you bring a whole, I
It's actually,
No problem with that.
it's a health and safety thing, Dick, because when we're in an emergency situation and we go down there, you can't even get into the facility because the brush is piled all the way across the lot. That's really
I've
what
helped
it's
you
about.
several days, and I'll shove it right back up in there for you, because I noticed the same thing now. I've done it a couple of Friday afternoons, because I know you're not around Saturday,
Thank
so
you.
that they can do it.
Maybe
I just offered the thought.
we're gonna have to fence that in then. We've got those kind of issues. If we're gonna run something like that,